back for this. Yeah.
It's one of the oldest speedways in the United States, being paved back in 1950. And with that being said, what better place to host a throwback race than Darlington Raceway in South Carolina? My name is Finney Kuna, here with Connor Horn. And Connor, as always, glad to have you back for some stock car racing. These guys have been putting on a phenomenal show at many different types of tracks all over the course of this season. Here we are at round number 12 for this next round, and these guys, I'm waiting for them to go at it.
I'm glad to be up here with you in the booth. Don't have to run around the virtual pit road this week, so that's a plus always. So going to be pretty a fun one tonight. 130 laps at one of the toughest tracks. Called Track 2 Tough to Tame for a reason. Darlington is a track few drivers can get a handle on. It's just so tough from turn 1 all the way to turn 4, breaking into the corners. It's a tough one, and it's going to be very fun to see some of these throwback cars whip around this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. I have pictures of the paint schemes to keep track for the people at home, just to kind of give you an idea of the paint scheme that these guys have. And just taking a look at some of the paint schemes, some of these guys have some fantastic cars out on the track, and they're actually already getting down and on the track, putting some lap times on, Connor.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I believe this is, trying to see, I think that's Joey Tebbin. I don't think this is a throwback, if I'm not mistaken.
No, this is a normal paint scheme. Most of the other drivers do have throwbacks on there. We'll take a look at them throughout the race. Alex Bell out on the track. That is also, I'm pretty sure, not a throwback, unless I'm mistaken. But he's out in his black number 15. I see him back out on the track after being absent for a little while.
Yeah, that's a tribute scheme to the shooting that happened in Buffalo, so a paint scheme with a lot of meaning for Alex Bell.
Ah. I was too busy getting stuff ready, so I didn't get a chance to look at and examine most of the paint schemes, but very nice tribute. It's really unfortunate what happened in Buffalo. Again, thoughts and prayers to all the families, and a beautiful paint scheme to commemorate that.
Yeah, very creative. He's always good with the paint schemes, always on top of things. And he's always on top of the driving as well. As we go to Jeff Wright, this is, I believe, it would have to be a throwback to Mike Skinner, I think. Very simplistic, rare to see a 48, not like the normal paint scheme we see, his normal lows, but this is pretty sporty, I'd have to say.
Yeah, very beautiful paint scheme. I mean, very fitting also to the driver that normally sports the Lowe's sponsored cars, so very fitting to throwback to another Lowe's paint scheme. He comes sliding out, almost tagging the wall out at turn number 4 and across the line for Jeff Wright. And he will be only 4th fastest, not up on top, but still he's been on a very strong run. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think did not win last week. That was Casey Lakatos, of course, but winning pretty much all the other races in the last 6 weeks. Won 4 out of the last 7 events, so he's been on a roll. We'll see that will continue. Brian Chambliss not in a throwback paint scheme, but out on the track in his signature number 9 Outsider Racing paint scheme.
It's a throwback to Orel itself, maybe. But the only reason Jeff Wright probably didn't win last week, well, he wasn't there last week. And even then, he still maintains a 23-point lead, a points lead to Bailey Turner, who was looking on track to win that race until lap traffic had issues in front of him and pretty much took him out of legitimate contention. Bailey Turner, don't believe he's here tonight, so that lead should go back to what it was before for Wright if he has another solid run.
Trying to look at anyone else out on the track. See Chad Klinger sitting in pit lane, is not putting down a time. Dustin German in the 100 car. Big surprise for him. Showed quite a bit of speed. Unfortunately, doesn't look like he's going to have enough time to put a lap time down. His teammate, who I believe I remember seeing, Jerry West in the 86, has also not put a time down. So both of them starting from the back again, which is a bit surprising because both of those cars actually seem to have some pace. So a bit surprised to see them elect to start from the back, but nonetheless, we're going to get started here at Darlington. We'll get your grid lined up in just a bit. Going to be starting off in the sunlight, and that may be for some slipping and some sliding.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of tough slipping and sliding out of the corners, especially in the first few laps of the run. It seems like these Xfinity cars just aren't in the track for a few laps. Once you're on cold tires, you're just fighting for grip. You're also fighting for track position early on because we know how important it is at a track like this, but you really don't have the grip to fight much early on. You have to wait for the tires to get up to temperature, and after that, tires get up to temperature, you don't have much time to really work them in. They're pretty much already pushing tight. That right front's going to be crying for help the entire rest of the run. run once the car is actually settled in the track. So watch for some right front issues later today.
Indeed. Let's go through your starting lineup. Starting on pole, Mitch Welker in the number 76 car. Again, a great looking paint scheme. Trying to get a look at it here. There it is. I forgot the exact throwback that is too. It's to a very obscure paint scheme. We'll take a look later on. Matt White starting in second. The 29 is not on the grid just yet. And moving on back to row number 2, it's going to be Zach Passon in the 69. Next to him, Jeff Wright in the number 48.
Mitch Welker's throwback is to a Jay Sauter paint scheme from 2001. Jay Sauter was usually somewhere in the top 10 in the Busch Series days, so pretty cool paint scheme. Not one you usually see, but I love the ones you usually don't see. Usually the less common ones are usually the more special ones. And then we'll go to the next 2 rows here while we have the time. It's Ryan Carwile in the 71 machine, the reigning series champion still, in case Licata's P6 after that pretty monumental victory after 116 starts, whatever it was, finally got the victory at Nashville Super Speedway. Now on the row behind Andrew Taliganoff, who's been very solid all season long, alongside his good buddy Brian Chambers.
Indeed. Moving on back another row, we find in P9, it's going to be Jeremy Miller on the inside in the number 30, and next to him Alex Bell in the number 15 car. And then in behind them, we find Joseph Tebben in the 60, Chad Klinger next to him in the 09 machine.
Then the final 4 drivers who are going to start this race, Jerry West in the 86, Ray Massey in that 23 machine. I believe a Jimmy Spencer throwback on that one. Very nice to see. Don't think we've seen that one yet. Another one I love to see. And then 15th place, Dustin German. And then David Mott Jr. is going to be the 16th and final starter today in that beautiful Burger King paint scheme. That might be a throwback to Joe Nemechek.
I'll take a look here quickly at our weather here before these guys go green. We're talking about it being with some light out. Not too hot on the track, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. 81 in the air, 85 on the track. We expect to see that potentially drop as the sun begins to set. And as the field rolls off into turns 3 and 4, we got 130 laps on tap. And the pace car are going to make the left turn on the pit lane. Field and control of Mitch Welker in his number 76. As field gets ready to go off to the races. Waiting patiently for the green. And there it is. Green flag in the air for Welker, and we are green here at Darlington. Field rocketing out of turn number 4. Welker in the lead with Matt White second, Passon, Wright, Carwile, your top 5.
Yeah, very quickly and orderly getting everyone single filed out. You really don't want to be side by side. This is one of those tracks because of how narrow it is. You lose so much time to the cars around you, the other cars around you when you're side by side through any part of the track, especially through 1 and 2. You do not want to be side by side there. Don't want to be caught on the bottom as well.
Yeah, looking at Jeff Wright already trying to make up some ground on Zach Passon up ahead. Was up to his rear bumper, had a layoff just a little bit. And Connor, we've heard these guys talk about at some of the other tracks that talk about dirty air that they have to deal with, which is something you typically don't associate with stock car racing, but it's been not really a major problem, but it's definitely been a bit of a problem when it comes to following between 2 cars.
I would say it's an uncommon thing in stock car racing, especially the past maybe 5, even 10 years. It's become more of an issue with the cars we have today. It's just been an issue, especially an issue at Nashville Super Speedway last week with the bottom line being the dominant line. And if you weren't the leader, you're pretty much left out to dry. So it's definitely still an issue. You can combat that by just going where they ain't. But at a track like Darlington, you really don't have anywhere else to go. You kind of need to be on that wall.
Yeah, you see everyone running up into that wall and cutting down low on the apex. Late apex of turn number 2, trying to make speed. Matt White trying to chase down Mitch Welker for the lead. The number 29 machine, and you can see him look to the inside just a little bit. Welker running up against that wall and gets a great run off the corner.
Yeah, it's not really where you can make that pass. You kind of need to set it up somehow out of turn number 4. You need to really set it up. You need a good run through turn number 2, get the run to the bottom, maybe through 3 and 4. And if you can somehow stay under them out of turn 4, maybe try to force them into backing out into turn 1. It is a long and, difficult process to making a pass at Darlington here. I just don't think it's going to work for Matt White trying to run the bottom like that, but he's still working at it. Should be better for the tires running up there. Not going to be better if you're tapping the wall.
And behind them, Casey Lakatos and Brian Chambliss doing battle. And going to be Casey Lakatos winning out in that scenario. Take a look at Casey Lakatos' paint scheme. We're up here, a tribute to Darrell Waltrip's number 17. You can see right in there, Western Auto on that car. Fun fact about this paint scheme, too, he actually made this paint scheme for me to run in Fuel for their throwback race. I was unable to run that event, so he decided to run it for this throwback race.
It's pretty sporty even still. Mitch Welker just had a moment at a turn 4. Here comes Matt White to the inside. Tough to go through 1 and 2, side by side. He's going to make it work. Forces his way to the race lead.
And what a move indeed. Take a quick look back at that. Just got a great run off of turn 4 through the inside in turn 1 and did a slide job to make it stick. And I mean, you kind of have to be aggressive like that, just throwing the car into the corner. And here comes Welker back at as we go live.
Yeah, I think Welker was trying to control the field, set his own pace. He was one of the best at saving tires last week, and I think he wants that control back. If he doesn't have control of the race lead while saving his tires, it could be an issue because we know how hard it is to pass. We've talked about it the entire time almost about how hard it is to pass here at Darlington. He doesn't have that clean air. It's going to be way more difficult for him to keep that top spot or even get that top spot back from Matt White.
And Zach Passon in behind, making work in the 69, that yellow car. This is a beautiful paint scheme, Duraflame. Oh, as Welker comes up and kisses the wall just a little bit. And actually, when we were looking at the back of Matt White's view, I saw on the right side a little bit of scuffing on the right panels of that 76. So he's already been in the wall a little bit. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. So already some drivers starting to earn their Darlington stripe.
Yeah, it's not really a stripe. It's more of a kiss. You see barely a little bit of fender damage. It might affect it a little bit, but it's not going to be horrific. This is really the first time I've seen Matt White in ORL in a while. I was trying to look because it's just not a name I see anymore. This is his first Outsiders Racing League start since, I believe, if I check again, April of 2020. It's been a long time coming for his next start.
I was looking at that,
years.
I was like, I feel like I remember that name, but at the same time I don't. So I'm glad you pointed that out. So yeah, Matt White returning after a very long absence, and I mean, hey, what a way to return, right? You come back in, and already back at the top. So see Mitch Welker trying to work on taking back that top spot. No avail at the moment. This is the worry, though. You see as Zach Passon gets a little bit of a kiss from the wall. He's pushing too hard too early. We've seen a lot of times with these drivers when they push too hard, they lose the tires early. But tell it to Welker, he's going to try to throw it on the inside. White with a bit of a block down into turn 1. He's going to keep that 76 at base. He kisses the wall. Here comes the 76.
He's driving way too hard just to keep everyone behind him. It's going to end in disaster if this keeps up. He's stacking everyone up. Here comes Jeff Wright with the big run, going for third on Zach Passon, who got pretty much screwed because of that checkup. This is what fighting for the lead like this can cause. It can cause stack-ups like this. He's got 1 through 4, got 2 through 4, excuse me, all behind him. Even 5th place Ryan Carwell can be included in that.
Yeah, Jeff Wright trying to take advantage of that checkup. Went to the inside, lost it. That outside lane just too dominant. We see a little bit of running on the quarter panel. Almost turns the 69, and he's going to have to yield that battle for now. Carwell, though, in the beautiful Ryan Newman paint team, going to get a great run off the corner and have a look to his inside.
Oh, Jeremy Miller just killed the wall. I was wondering why Chambliss went to the apron. That was why. He was trying to avoid Miller, who has probably the worst right front damage of anyone at this point. He'll continue in, I believe, the 6th position, 7th position still. Didn't lose anything out of that, but the racing for the lead is very intense. Welker's going to dive. This isn't going to work.
Oh, and it's not going to work. There's Passon spinning in the background. I take an eye off these guys for just a second, and absolute calamity ensues. Let's hope nothing else happens when I take a look at this replay. This is heading down turn number 4. Great run from the leaders up in front. There you can see Welker trying to take a look at White. Comes up, taps him in the side, and the 29. Actually, he was passing, trying to avoid the 29. Got clipped from Jeff Wright. Amazing that everyone is able to keep it calm and collected, and White down a pit lane.
This might be him calling a night. We'll have to see because he took a huge hit. He probably isn't too happy with Mitch Welker either because that was kind of egregious. I wouldn't say dirty, just very tough to do that pass when you don't have a run or positioning. Welker didn't really have either of those, at least not enough of either of those, so would not be surprised if this is just Matt White calling it an early night after pretty much killing the outside wall.
Yeah, I was going to say, before that, he was killing it on the track. It's unfortunate to see if he was going to retire because had some solid pace, but as you mentioned, I guess it's kind of makes sense because it's a very early pit stop with the 29.
Welker hard into the wall there. That was more than a kiss as well. He's gonna have pretty good right side damage, and now Jeff Wright's in the cap grid spot.
Yep, I was gonna say, here comes Jeff Wright. Remember, he tried to make this move, same move on the inside of Welker earlier. Actually, sorry, it was on the inside of Passon earlier. Couldn't quite get it done, and you're gonna see again, same story off of 4. Just can't beat that run off the outside lane, so he's gonna have to stay in behind for now. Meanwhile, sitting quietly in the number 3 paint scheme, Andrew Taliganoff. I would say this is a throwback, but he's been running this paint scheme every week, so
yeah,
it's kind of a throwback, kind of not a throwback.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been cool if he ran one of those unused Dell Senior schemes.
He should have ran on the silver one. I think he ran in the All-Star race one year, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember I ran the half and half one. I liked running that one. I think I wrecked in that Darlington race, though, so maybe it didn't go well. But I love running those obscure throwback paint schemes, something that someone's never seen before, because, you know, as more throwback weekends we get, throwback races we get, the harder it is to get something that you've never seen before.
And taking a look at these guys in behind, they're stuck behind by Jeremy Miller. We're talking about Miller with that big right side damage. You can see the crinkle on that car from here on the right hand, by the right front fender. You can see Chambliss making move to the inside, and that car is definitely hurting. Oh, slides up into him, and you see Chambliss go sliding up into Klinger. And Casey Lakatos, I think, almost got a piece out of that. He did not, but and Jeremy Miller, the car wrecking loose off of turn 4. And here comes Bell. He almost makes it in the middle, 3 wide. Chambliss having to just take the apron.
They're wrecking in the back. Wrecking the back. Trying to see that was Jerry West and Casey Lakatos getting into it. Lakatos killed the wall after contact with the 86.
Man, it is all kicking off in just a matter of laps. Everything seems calm for a moment, and then everything goes down.
Spinning 3. Zach Passon's been wrecked. 3 cars in the wall. It's Klinger, Tebben, and Passon.
Taking a look at this first incident, we'll go back live and check the results of what happened. We're yellow here at Darlington after a hectic opening 20 laps. One incident after the other. Passon's going to take it down a pit lane to immediately start repairs, and this had some start to it. Taking a look off for turn number 2, there you see the 09 of Klinger making a move to the inside. And
he just turned him.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of surprised. I don't think they're really near each other the entire race, were they?
Didn't seem like it. There was a lot to unpack from those last 5. That was just a dump. Yeah. I don't know if that was just a misjudgment or they had prior history, but that was really kind of uncalled for.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because I don't think these guys even had any history leading up to this race, so a bit surprising to see him. I have to imagine that was a misjudgment. I think he felt like there was more track, and that Passon's going to move over, because I can't think of anything that happened, unless you can check in the replay and maybe prove me wrong, but because I think Passon only just got back there after he had his spin from hitting Jeff Wright, so I don't know.
There was a checkup with the incident with Miller, and Passon got to the inside of Klinger and passed him. That's really the only racing they had the entire race so far, and Klinger already had the front end damage from the incident in 4. I can't explain that one. There's really nothing there that would warrant Zach Passon getting turned like that. It had to be a misjudgment, because Chad Klinger's not the one to do that. He is not that type of driver whatsoever.
Yeah, that is the thing that makes it more surprising, too. These guys have kept it pretty calm and collected throughout the season. A few rivalries here and there, but for the most part, they've been contained within single races. Nothing's really spanned over the course of the season. But off of pit lane, you can see Jeff Wright coming out immediately. A lot of cars sitting on pit lane. Only the top 6 of the guys come out. Everyone else sitting to get repairs. There you see Welker finally launched. Lakatos, Chambliss, Jeremy Miller, Tebben, Klinger, everyone else getting repairs after pretty much every single car getting some sort of damage. And here comes actually the pace car off of turn 4. So some of these guys have got to start going. Or is there going to be a lap down?
That was just a lap of chaos. It all started with Jeremy Miller. I think he was trying to let Brian Chambliss by. The lap prior in turn 3, Chambliss just completely drove in too hard, put Miller in the wall, and that was Chad Klinger who got the worst of that. Everyone avoided that. And then into turn number 1, I think Miller must have had another issue. No, they were just stacking up trying to avoid Chambliss, and then the Burger King car. It was actually David Mott Jr. I called Jerry West. It was David Mott Jr. who just drove through the side of Case Lakatos into turn number 1. That's why Lakatos was in the wall. Jerry West got a piece of it, and then obviously we saw what brought out the yellow in turn 3.
Well, like imagine it's not a lot of guys happy with each other after the start of this race, and that's unfortunate for some of these guys because there's a lot of racing left.
You want to see the attrition rate. Look who's already in front of the right behind the pace car. Only like 7 cars are ready for this restart. Everyone else is rushing back.
Yeah, you can see everyone still racing through 3 and 4 to get going. Pace car, though, is going to take off. And Jeff Wright in control of the field. Looks like a lot of the guys in the back catching back up just in time for the restart. And it seems you already lost about 3 or so guys down on pit lane. Meanwhile, green flag up. Ooh, and I thought I saw maybe a hit from Miller. Just struggling to get his car going. Looks like he's okay. But Wright going to be leading the field off into turn number 1. Andrew Taliganoff going to take advantage of a great start and get past Ryan Carwile.
Yeah, Miller almost spun himself out spinning the tires there. You know, out of all that chaos, who's the guy who keeps it calm, cool, collected, gets the race lead? Jeff Wright. What a surprise. That's why he's the points leader.
Exactly, and we'll see if he can continue this momentum forward, though. Got Taliganoff in behind, and I'm sure for Taliganoff, he definitely loves this type of track. He's going to be trying to chase down the number 48.
This is something, isn't it? The 48 and the 3. I'd say it's 2 legends going at it, but Mike Skinner wouldn't be much of a legend. Mott Jr. in the wall in the background. Jerry West has exited the race. Mott Jr. hit it pretty good there. Everyone's still trying to scramble and see what their damaged race cars got right now. And the guys, Chambliss on back, they don't really have much because they have completely been killed into the wall or killed the wall themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for a lot of guys near the front, they're going to try to continue figure out what they got. But as you mentioned, just once you start hitting the wall, once you start digging up the car, it just so happens that you typically end up hitting the wall more than once afterwards, and it kind of just gets progressively worse and worse and worse. So some of these guys just have to figure out what they got left. Meanwhile, Mitch Welker coming flying off at turn number 2 after he repaired a decent amount of right side damage to that car, mostly I think cosmetic. I don't think anything too severe. Actually, the car actually looks pretty well repaired, so it looks like he's worthy time spent down on pit lane, but back in 6th place, so he's got some work to do to get back to the front.
Yeah, he must have thought it was very important to get that damage repaired because he did come down as a race leader. I was wondering why he was back in 6th, but obviously he definitely took the time to repair that right side. He did hit it pretty good now that I remember, but hard to give up track position at a track like Darlington.
Dustin German sitting quietly in behind the number 23, and alongside with Ray Massey are both the biggest movers of the race, both moving up 10 positions. For Massey from 14th to 4th, for Dustin from 15th to 5th. So both these guys having a really good day in their Ford Mustangs.
Yeah, really good job just getting through all the chaos there, and it should put them in line for a decent finish if they can just hold on for another 100 laps or so. Get strung out, see group like pit stops, get through those. They should be solid for the rest of this one. Just got to be patient. Just hard to do here, but you have to be.
And a little bit of a run, it seems, from Miller. No, just a bit of a look. I'm actually kind of surprised he's still fighting for a position after he hit that wall pretty hard. But that car looks like it's still got quite a bit of fight left in it.
It's got fight for Alex Bell, that's for sure. That's for the 7th position. You can kind of see the cars that are pretty done for, and they're separated from the ones that aren't done for. Is about top 7 have broken away. You got Brian Chambliss. The top 8 cars have broken away. You got Chambliss in 9th. Who's actually pretty decent off. He really doesn't have much damage outside the very rear of the car, which shouldn't affect them too much. And then you got guys like Case Lagage who just really destroyed the right side of those things.
Yeah, mostly single file for the guys in front, so I think everyone just trying to take it easy, and I think, as I say that,
Car in the wall. I was Klinger in the wall. I saw blinking too, but those guys that are back there, we know their cars aren't going to handle well. I thought I saw another one get into a wall, but Klinger really hurt it that time.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. He already has a damaged car. It's only going to get worse from here on out, unfortunately. It's typically how it goes. And officially on the retirement list, you can see White, Passon, and West all calling it a day. You've got 13 guys left. Temin and Klinger both a lap down, having to get extensive repairs to their machine. And with the rate Klinger's going at, he's going to have to probably get some more repairs.
He's just being generous for everyone else. He's getting multiple Darlington stripes to avoid the other drivers getting there first. So I guess it's generous of him to do that.
He's taking one for the team.
Taking one for the entire league, I would say, yes.
Yeah, everyone else still flirting with that wall. Coming off of 2, Wright coming out to an early lead over Andrew Taliganoff. Not much of a lead, though. Still 0.5 of a second, but every little bit matters at this point. I haven't seen these guys on a long run yet. Just had that caution interrupt, just 20 laps inward. So what are we looking like when it comes to pit stops? When do you expect to see these guys down on pit lane?
Trying to see when we went green to look at that. Went green around the lap 20 range, so I think it might be close from here on a one-stop. I'm not sure a one-stop's going to be possible. 80% fuel tank. You'd have to go about 55 laps on fuel. I don't think you're going to really see that.
No, that's
Maybe we'll see people fighting to get the halfway, which would be lap 65, but you really want to pit maybe around lap 55 if you're going to do a two-stop, just to even them out a little bit. So this could split strategy in a way, in a rather interesting way, if this does go green to that point where you might see green flag stops in that maybe 55 to 65 range.
Sun's starting to set. I pity anyone racing in VR because it's going to be blinding heading down to turn number 3, sorry.
I'd rather, if they're racing in HDR, they're blinded regardless.
Oh yeah, HDR. No, HDR is bad, but you combine HDR and VR, and it's like you literally cannot see anything. When you have a single monitor, it's kind of okay, but VR is like completely blinding.
Yeah, I caused a wreck because of HDR once, so I have not been doing that as of late.
It's unfortunate because HDR makes it look so good, but at the risk of not seeing where you're going.
I like realism, but I can make exceptions to tone it down. I don't really want to cause a wreck into turn 3 here.
What they really need to do is give us tinted visors. Is what they need to do.
Something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice to have.
Yeah, that we're far away from that, but we can dream. Oh, Carwell. Bell, that was Bell in the wall that time. He's starting to struggle a little bit. Thought Miller bounced off it. He avoided it, but Bell's the next victim of that turns 1 and 2 wall.
Yeah, you can start to see a little bit of damage on the right front there. You can see a little bit of a crinkle. So, as you mentioned, next victim to fall to the wall around Darlington. So, and he was just riding up behind the 76 of Welker. I think went in a little bit too hard. Top 6, though, all nose to tail within about a second of each other. So, they have not really gotten separated.
And it's so much easier. You might think it's easier to hit the wall out of the corner, but at Darlington, it's so way easier to hit it in the middle of the corner because you have to run next to the wall for speed to get a decent run off the corner. As Miller pretty much just proved that. He hit it pretty good that time, or at least scraped it, so he falls back to Chambliss on entry. He hit it, but hitting it in the center of the corner is so easy. You have to be up there, especially through 1 and 2, a very fast corner, fast set of corners. You have to be up there to get the run and the arc to get down into turn number 2. If you overstep that boundary by just a little bit, you're slamming that wall because it kind of juts out, moves down the track in a way, and it could just completely crush your machine all up.
Yeah, we're taking a look there at Mitch Welker's throwback to Jay Sauter, 2001, number 43 Morton Salt Paint Scheme. And fun fact is that the image you saw there was one of only 2 images on the entire internet of this paint scheme.
See, that's what I like. I like the obscure stuff. It's the best paint schemes, the best throwbacks are the obscure ones, in my opinion. Unless it's just an extremely iconic scheme, but you're not going to get that all the time. I love the underdone stuff.
And take a look at Ray Massey's paint scheme here. Number 20, Ray Massey in the number 23. He's throwing back to Jimmy Spencer's number 23 camel paint scheme from 1995.
A pretty iconic one at that.
Is that for Camel cigarettes?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I was thinking of the F1 sponsor, because I know they sponsor cars in F1. Didn't realize they ever sponsored cars in NASCAR, so there you go.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Spencer probably fought a few people in it. Don't think he won in it, but he did enjoy some pretty good success in that era of NASCAR.
I'm curious which paint schemes Jimmy Spencer's more known for. I feel like he's more known for his the Cirrus one and
That's a
Target.
tough one.
I guess that's maybe from me, I guess, because that's when I kind of realized, like, or started learning about him, was when he was running those paint schemes. So I guess I'm a bit biased for being younger.
I really only know, I would say I know more for when he was in the 41, and that is mainly because of him and Kurt Busch.
Yeah.
And all that went down in his era, in that era where he kind of just, you know, a lot happened with Kurt Busch in that year specifically. Leave it at that.
Ryan Carwell taking a look at his Ryan Newman paint scheme again. Don't have a picture of this, unfortunately. I had a form. Unfortunately, Ryan didn't submit anything, so I was too busy putting everyone else's, and I didn't manage to grab one off the internet. But you just Google Ryan Newman's number 12 Airtel paint scheme, Alltel paint scheme, and it'll come up. This is a very beautiful rendition of it. It fits the Mustang really well.
Yeah, it's perfect for the Mustang. There's no other car it would fit on. If I had to guess, maybe an 06, 07. He ran similar Alltel schemes until 08 when he won that 08 Daytona 500.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
didn't like
very
the
solid
blue.
one.
I didn't like the blue one though. The black with the blue and white accents, I feel like looked the best.
I think the blue one was more iconic just because of the 500 victory. That was a dark time for Penske, but they really put it all out there for that Daytona 500.
Meanwhile, back up at front, Andy Taliganoff chasing down the number 48 of Jeff Wright. Trying to make work of him, or potentially try to make work on him. He closed that gap. It was around 0.5 of a second at the biggest. Now down to 0.3 of a second. Can't seem to overcome the deficit any more than that, though.
He gained 0.2 the lap prior, and Wright got 1/10 of that back that lap. It's just so difficult. It's another part of that dirty air. You get maybe 3 to 4 tenths within someone, and they just kind of stretch it back out. And then once again, Taliganoff was pushed out of that zone. Now he's back into it with a great run out of turn number 2, but he can't really do anything about it. We've seen how bad the bottom is through 3 and 4, especially when someone's above you. You just get a terrible run off of turn 4, and you might get passed by, for example, in Taliganoff's case, you'd get passed by Ryan Carwile if you got no momentum out of the corner. So it's a tough situation when you need to avoid the dirty air, but you don't really have a lane to avoid without losing too much time.
Mostly still the top 6 running close together. As I say that, here comes Welker making a move to the inside of German. German not putting up much of a fight, and he will get on by.
Welker was sitting behind him for a while, just couldn't find a way around. I think German did realize he was faster and just decided not to give him too much trouble for that. Now Welker's got to work his way back up to Ray Massey for the 4th spot eventually.
Everyone's so close to the wall, especially so looking at Taliganoff and Wright. They're very close to the wall.
That's why they're 1-2. They're maximizing their limits, no doubt about it. But that could always end up in trouble. We saw that with Mitch Welker in the race lead. Seemed like he was the one to beat, and he put it in the wall pretty good, and that's why he's in 5th place now, having to repair that damage.
Riding on board with Taliganoff, sitting in 2nd place, looking out at Jeff Wright just up the road. Take a look at how Taliganoff's handling through the corners. See how close he gets up to that wall.
Oh, I'd say close. Oh, man.
And not too sideways off of turn 2, so he's keeping the car pretty stable.
Seems like he lost a lot of time through 1 and 2, though. He was faster last time by about 0.5 tenth, but seems like he's kind of hit or miss on if he gains or loses. Really no consistency between the 2 leaders right now. It's Wright pulls out 1/10, Taliganoff takes 2. Wright might take 3 there, and then they might be 1 out of 5 laps. They might be pretty dead even. That time it was 1/10 to Jeff Wright's name.
And taking a look back a little bit back, and we're looking at Alex Bell catching up to German. It looks like German might have pushed his stuff too early in the 100 machine. And starting to slip back in. Ooh, how about a pass immediately for Welker and Massey? Didn't even realize something was brewing between these two.
I think Ray Massey was going softer in the corner. I think he was actually just letting Welker by. Welker got to him pretty quickly there. As a matter of fact,
got a good run off the corner.
Matter of fact, how quick is he even making that pass? He was the fastest car in the racetrack, even faster than Jeff Wright. So he is definitely coming right now. Taliganoff's trying to get back to the 48 too. He almost walled it out of turn 2, but he's right back to the rear bumper of the 48. But can he do anything with it?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Haven't seen him do anything this entire run, really. Oh.
Dustin German's pitting. That's an early stop, I would think, lap 47, but if we were expecting to start around 55, maybe it's not.
I think it looks like he may retire. Yep.
That is an odd one. He not hit the wall or anything.
I think was feeling the car go, or either just did not feel like continuing onwards. He was about to fall into the clutches of Alex Bell. It makes Bell's life easy as he moves up into 6th place. And with that, another one bites the dust, as well as Joseph Tevin, who's also retired. So we're back with 11 cars in the race, 10 on the lead lap. And a lot of the guys at the end of the lead lap really struggling at the moment. David Mott back in 10th place. He's got the top 10, but barely. You can see that Burger King Whopper machine. has had a bite taken out of it, and another one there as you see him catch the wall in 3 and 4.
It's almost finished, I'd say. I think we're ready to order a new burger. This one's already been devoured, I would say, by this racetrack.
And for David Mott, it's a throwback to the number 14. That is Steve Park's paint scheme in 1997.
I was wrong then.
It was,
I thought it was an Nemechek. Oh, another bite.
Yeah, it was Steve Park's limited ride for DEI in 1997. Did he go in full-time? I guess did he go full-time in 98, or was it after?
Steve Park, 98? I think it was full-time.
Okay.
I think he had an injury at Atlanta that year that might have taken him out of the ride for a while.
Right.
Very unlucky driver Steve Park was, but before that crash at Darlington, he was on track to be a very solid driver. He already still was a solid driver when he was running, but could have been so much more. One of those classic what-if scenarios in NASCAR history.
Yeah, it's amazing because he never had the most remarkable career, but that number 1 Pennzoil paint scheme is iconic. It is a real... I guess because it's a very solid design, I guess is why it's stuck around, but it's a classic paint scheme.
Yeah, it's one almost everyone knows, for the most part.
We can look back at our leaders yet again. Sun beginning to set further and further. Soon the lights will be coming on. And arguably the action will intensify if it hasn't already. Those opening 20 laps were pretty crazy. It's calmed down in the last 30 though. Everyone's been taking it easy, just figuring out their stuff and making moves slowly but surely. And we might see another move here shortly as Taliganoff, close as he's been. Under 0.2 of a second. Wright, not so good a run off the corner. Great run for the 3, but can't quite get there. He gets to the bumper, but nothing more.
Jeremy Miller's really struggling into a wall every now and then, but the race is for the lead. Taliganoff might have kept his stuff on it a little better than the 48, even in clean air, right? Seemingly struggling to get that thing turned on exit of the corners. Taliganoff's just all over him, center off right now, all the way to the rear bumper. This is how you beat dirty air. Take the air off their spoiler, get them loose, really make them struggle.
Unfortunately, couldn't quite do anything on that occasion, so he's going to have to sit in behind the 48 for yet another lap, but definitely starting to mount more pressure. This is the most aggressive we've seen the 3 since the drop of the green flag. He's been kind of sitting quietly for most of this run, finally starting to try to make a move. And I'm curious if it's the 76 closing in, if that's maybe potentially giving him the will to go forward and try to get up to the lead to prevent Welker from catching him.
That could be part of it, but I wouldn't be concerned about Welker until he gets by Ryan Carwile. There's a big difference between being 4th and 3rd. One position makes all the difference track position-wise at this track. And Welker's kind of stuck right now. That being said, he was, once again, the fastest car on the racetrack that time by, just in front of Ray Massey. Is Taliganoff, once again, getting such good runs off of turn 4, way faster on exit. Wright just can't get it turned down like the 3 can, almost contacting the turn number 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was curious if he was going to send the 48. These two are teammates, although with the way they're racing at the moment, doesn't quite look like they're teammates.
Yes, even in paint scheme, they're teammates. Mike Skinner, RCR, that does make sense. If only there wasn't a 48 on it. It would be perfect.
Let's look at the Grid Life logo on the back. It's a nice touch there, Jeff.
Nice.
Not where Kyle is at the moment, that's why I'm producing. He's doing stuff for SRO. He's currently in New Orleans at NOLA. And if you've forgotten what NOLA is, I have too, until he brought it up that he was going there. Completely forgot the track existed.
Yeah, just one of those tracks that have one IndyCar race and then kind of forget about it.
At one IndyCar race, I think it
happened issue. Ray Massey's going to be inside wall off of turn number 2. Where did this come from?
Oh,
he's crashed hard. He's done.
Let's see what happened here. So he's going through turns 1 and 2. Nothing.
He just turned left. We're going to see it here. I don't know what happened, unless this is his way of calling it quits. Just drives it into the inside wall.
I have to imagine maybe some kind of hardware failure where he couldn't see.
Seen it before. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely had
an odd one.
It definitely looked like he had steering control. He might have lost visual on his monitor. Something must have popped there where he couldn't see. So I think he just kept turning left to make sure he didn't hit it or take out anyone. Unfortunate to see. He's got a decent amount of damage. Might see some more damage here as the 3 gets a great run on Jeff Wright.
We could see the race-altering crash because all 4 of our leaders might get caught up in it. We'll have no clean cars left at this rate.
I was going to say, I think we definitely lost all clean cars. Actually, I say that. Ryan Carwell, I think, is the only spotless paint scheme. And I think, ironically, also the Intimidator in the number 3, known for hitting some cars as he's a little bit loose, trying to get to the inside of the 48. Couldn't quite get there, though.
Ray Massey said VR crashed. He's one of those VR drivers, and it completely crashed on him. So
I was going to say, it looked like he was just trying to keep going left. Props to him for doing that, just keep avoiding anyone else. But unfortunate to see him and his day come to an end. That's a tricky thing, though, with VR. You can never, it's reliable until it isn't.
Wonder if it was the lights turning on that crashed it. I wouldn't know. I'm not a VR person.
I will say, since I switched to this current VR headset, it's actually been pretty smooth sailing for me. Now that I say that, I'm probably not going to have another good race ever again in it. But my other previous headset, it was a little bit wonky here and there, like where I would have instances where it would lose tracking because I use the Windows mixed reality, so it's inside-out tracking, and it would so it's reliant on like your surroundings and lighting, and so it just wasn't good enough on that headset, and I had instances where everything would flip upside down for a second. Or multiple times, and even if I try to recenter it, it would still be upside down. I almost felt like vomiting. So yeah, it was not a fun experience.
It sounds like VR. If it's something about vomiting, it sounds like VR. It's probably something I'll never try, but
it is game changing though. I will tell you that VR is really good. It's really good until it isn't. So it really depends. Some people have good experiences, some don't. I think it's fantastic. I in fact just ran the Indy 500 today in VR.
I'm sorry to hear that.
As you
I don't know what happened in Indy 500s. Oh, we got a battle. Welker's finally trying to make that bottom work. I think he's tired of riding just behind all these guys. I think he knows he's faster than them, just cannot find a lane to make it work to get the pass.
Yeah, that's the hard part though, right? Trying to get that lane. You know, everyone's up against the wall for the reason that top lane's the best lane. Bottom, it's difficult to make it work. It's possible to run side by side, but not ideal. You slow each other up so much because you enter in low, go up high, and then exit out low. Very interesting. It's a very unique entry and exits out of the corners here at Darlington, just because of the way the track was made. And so Welker just trying to find a way on by. He's gonna have to probably get this done on entry. He just needs to get a good run off of 4 or 2.
He just needs to get on the bumper of Carwell, loosen him up, make him really struggle, and then get positioning on him, maybe pull off some sort of slide job. I think it's the only way he's going to be able to make this pass work before pit stops, which we should see soon. We're about to get to halfway, so halfway points will be given out, and if they can't make it on one stop, we're getting closer to that point where if they get to about lap 75 or lap 80...
3's coming in.
3's coming in, so he's not even going to think about the halfway points. He's just going to come in early, get the jump on Jeff Wright. Kind of puts Jeff Wright in a tough situation. You could react to him or just go to halfway and then pit. I'd be surprised if he didn't go to halfway, but we'll see here.
I'm sure they probably talked about it too. Again, these guys are teammates. They're in the same Discord channel, I should say. And I would imagine they maybe talked it through, unless Taliganoff just felt like doing his own strategy. As Wright flashes out for just a second. There he comes back, hopefully. There we go. So he's going to continue onwards. No one else has responded in, so Taliganoff an early run down into pit lane. I'll have to see how this works out for him. Finally, just now the right sides are going up in the car. A very long pit lane, fairly slow pit lane, if I'm not mistaken.
At this track, I would say so. It's either 45 or 50. I believe it is 50. No, it is 45. It's slower than I thought. But yeah, it's how long this pit lane is. A lot of unused pit boxes at the very start of it. It can be very annoying going down here on your own without other drivers around you.
Welker just trying to get a run off. Has lost touch a little bit with Ryan Carwile. And both of these guys have lost touch with the leader, Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright has been slowly checking out from the other two after his teammates come into pit.
I don't know about slow. His 3/10 put on Carwell and Welker that time by. He's flown away from him all in an instant. It's all of a sudden they were right on each other, all on top of each other, those four. Now all of a sudden it's going to be stretched to 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds.
It'll be interesting to see how fast with time Taliganoff runs to see how much further ahead he's going to get. When this cycle is out, of course, it's all going to cycle back together again. If you come in early, you got good tires early on, but later on, when the guys who come in later have better tires, they're going to catch you. It's typically how it flows, ebbs and flows in the race. And still trying to look at Welker, he's slowly also losing touch of Carwell. When do you think that these guys are going to come in?
Because we pit under yellow at lap 20. If you wanted a one-stop, you need to make it to at least lap 75. I'd be surprised if the field could make it that long. So either Taliganoff and I believe Alex Bell, who pit, are, fighting for the 2-stop. They're either doing that or already throwing in the towel on a 1-stop. I'd be shocked if he could make it 10 more laps on fuel, but you just never know. I really couldn't tell you what the exact fuel number was tonight, so we're gonna get a good idea of what it is, because these guys might just be stretching it as far as they can go. Yeah,
I can tell you that unlike the Indy 500 I ran today, these races typically go green, very green, for very long periods of time. so yeah, I could definitely expect these guys to go green till the end. So you have to consider, if it's going to go green till the end, when do you want to pit? Do you want to try to stretch it out all the way until you're to halfway and just make it a 1-stop? If the fuel can make it, we still have to see these guys go a little bit further till that's done. And also just past halfway too, if I'm not mistaken. I think we just passed it. Just passed it. So
Jeremy Miller.
Yeah, so
sorry,
Wright,
Jeremy Miller came in.
Gotcha. Wright, Carwell, Welker, Chambliss, Lakatos, Mott, and Taliganoff. I don't think he got points. I think Alex Bell might have gotten points.
Bell definitely got points. He pit right after halfway.
Gotcha.
And he was in, I believe, I'm trying to see where he was. I thought he was in maybe the 9th position, but I could have been wrong. He was in 4th at that time.
And I'm going to rocket past Casey Lakatos with his damage number 50 still on old tires. And also talking about flying past, take a look at the lap times between Taliganoff and his fresh tires, running in the low 30s, around 30.1, 30.2. Leader, 32.1, 32 flat this time by, so almost 2 seconds slower. So that's just showing the difference of fresh tires versus old tires. Again, if Taliganoff is planning on going on 2 stops, I don't think it's gonna work. If it is gonna be 1-stop, if it is gonna be a 1-stopper, sorry, I don't think this coming in twice is gonna help him or do him any favors.
It's gonna be even tougher getting by the slower traffic as he goes by Carwell and Welker there. Right, Massey is back on track, just so everyone knows. Even with his damage, he's back on track. Case Lakatos, Chad Klinger came down that time by. Lakatos from 5th. Klinger is already a lap down from the damage he had to repair. Everyone else stays out.
Yeah, Chad Klinger down on pit lane. Ooh, having to reverse. Trying to get back to stall. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Finally got it. I was going to say, I could have sworn they fixed that glitch. Well, since we're out here with Chad Klinger, I haven't taken a look at his throwback paint scheme. We'll take a quick look at it. It's
Carwell and Welker were almost racing onto pit road there. They come in side by side on pit road. I think Carwell's gonna have to give way because he does have the earlier pit stall, but they almost crashed trying to get into that skinny pit
and you can see because they both came in at completely different angles. Because the apron is so wide. Carwell waiting, Welker charging in on the corner. You can see side by side there between both of them.
Jeff Wright's going to react to those two pitting. He'll dive in. He'll take the line Carwile took, which didn't seem like the faster line. It looked like Welker made more time up going shallow and entering before the entry to 3, which is usually I'd take Carwile's line, but you got to note that down. That might be what you want to do if you have to have another stop, which we might see Jeff Wright not pit again because he got the lap 73. Might not have to save too much.
Yeah, I've seen these guys go about 50. Oh, actually, you just heard it past the camera there. Ryan Cham was clutching and coasting. Uh-oh. Is he out of gas? Or is he just letting 15 by? Okay, never mind. Just letting 15 by. He's running on fumes. Oh, now it's sputtering. I think he's out of gas.
Wow. Well, that's going to be
So that's
big.
why he was clutching and coasting in 1 and 2. I was wondering, are you just trying to stretch it out, and then you can hear him shut off the engine? It's going to be a very miserable pit lane.
He was one of the only ones clutching. I was trying to listen to Jeff Wright. I did not hear him clutching and coasting, but Chambliss was doing it even laps prior.
Wow! Jeff Wright spinning off the pit lane as he hit the wall.
Oh my God!
Wow! And he spins and wrecks. Doesn't bring out a yellow. Is going to try to get back up to speed. Massey coming around. He comes flying by, and we are going to stay green. A huge mistake for our leader, who has been driving pretty much flawlessly up until that point. Just got loose on pit lane.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that. He doesn't do that often whatsoever. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can see right there, again, no grip is down there. No one's been running down there, obviously, so there's no grip. Just push the car a little bit too hard. Again, cold tires as well. You have to consider that, too. So just an overall lack of grip. And he went nose into the wall, and for the most part, I think it was a relatively slow impact, so A little bit of damage. That's not the best thing. Again, he knows how much engine damage he has. I've seen worse though. I've seen far worse. So it shouldn't be game over for 48. But the big thing though is he lost a huge amount of time.
He lost so much time doing that. That is such a huge mistake.
Yeah, he's about 6 seconds behind Welker, and 7 seconds in behind Carwile.
Only a lap fresher tires with damage. That's really costly. Luckily for the gap he built up and everyone else's issues, he is still in the 5th position now after Brian Chambliss finally got down pit road and exited. So that's the good news, but the bad news is he seemed to be fully in control of this race and he just threw it away on pit exit. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It's rare to see a mistake from Jeff Wright, but unfortunately it's one of those occasions where it's going to bite him and bite him hard. Here comes Carwell with a run on Bell, almost knocks him in the left rear. Bell on potentially on a 2-stopper. I don't think we think he's anywhere close to making it on just 1 stop, so he's going to more likely than not have to come back in. So Carwell is trying to work past on his fresher tires.
Tell you what.
Bell putting up a fight.
I don't know where Mitch Welker lost so much time. I wonder if he started saving early because we saw him come out right behind Ryan Carwile, and Carwile's just gapped him considerably in a quick amount of time. I think Welker's lifting early, if I'm not mistaken. He's not coasting, but he's lifting way earlier than you would on fresh tires.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of saving tires and more likely than not, more importantly, saving fuel in that 76. So I think he's thinking he may not be close to making it, but Carwell thinks he is close to making it, and that's why he's pushing.
I think Taliganoff's got the strategy. Let's keep in mind, they aren't the race leaders. Andrew Taliganoff's got 15.5 seconds back to Ryan Carwile. Taliganoff, if these guys are coasting, obviously there's no way Taliganoff's making it. He's going 2-stop, and he's still got a 15-second lead.
Yeah, I think
Carwell's not much faster. Well, he was that time, but the laps prior he wasn't. I think Taliganoff's really in the best spot.
The problem is, though, I mean, if the pit lane speed was faster, I feel like he would be in a better opportunity. But you spend about 50 seconds or 48 seconds down on pit lane. It's a long pit road delta. So take out his 15-second lead, which actually still was dropping pretty significantly down to 14 seconds. And he got 14 seconds, then about maybe another. So he's got to make up about 30 seconds if it stays as is, the gaps. With fresh tires, I don't quite think he can do that. I think he'll catch quite a few positions. I think he'll definitely get a top 5. But I don't quite think he'll be able to chase down the leaders. Again, could be wrong. But I feel like he might not be on the best of strategies. It's an option, but not the best option, I think, for these guys. I think Carwile, and by proxy, Welker, I think, are doing the best calls. But like you said, it's a bit concerning that Carwile is just bolting full steam ahead while Welker is saving. So interesting. Yeah. So 2 guys that came in at the exact same time came off at the exact same time, both running at 2 completely different speeds. One thinks they can make it, one thinks they can't. Unless Carwell maybe thinks that he knows that he can't make it and he's just going full beans. But then I guess the question is why didn't he come in earlier?
That wouldn't make sense. That would be just a bad mistake if Carwell were to do that. It's confusing. Looking at Brian Chambliss' run, we heard him sputter. He ran out of turn 2, I believe lap 74 maybe, trying to check on that.
So that's what, like 50 laps? Just over 50?
Hit on lap 20 under yellow. He ran out lap 74 off of turn number 2, so he really only made it 53, 54 laps. These drivers are going to have to go 56, 57 laps. They're going to have to save even more. And Chambliss was already clutching and coasting earlier than when he ran out. It's a lot to save. I think Mitch Welker's caught on to that, and I think he's doing way better than what Carwell's doing. I think Carwell's got to start saving very soon if he wants to make it. Mitch Welker, it might be in the best spot, but saying that, Jeff Wright, even though he kind of threw the race away, he kind of hasn't. He's already only about 4 seconds behind Mitchell Welker, and he has 1 lap more of fuel. So it makes it much easier for him to save his amount than Mitch Welker's amount.
Yeah, and he is pushing a lot faster than both Welker and Carwell. So he's absolutely not saving at this point in time.
That's another issue, though. No, he is saving. He just closed into turn 3. So Jeff Wright is saving fuel. They definitely know they have to make this last much longer than it actually can. Yeah, so it's going to be down to these 2, I would think, because I don't think Carwell can make it from what he's doing now.
I actually saw Carwell's pace slow down. Like, I'm not sure this is tire wear, been pushing, or if he's starting to save, right on board with the 71. He's
No
kind of running
post.
normally. Meanwhile, by comparison, actually, take a look at Welker and see Welker. I don't think he's coasting, he's taking it easy. Right, though, you can hear clearly clutching it in, coasting into the corner.
Mitch Welker's got to map a clutch onto that thing. I think that's got to be the only reason why he's not doing it, because he probably doesn't have one. But you can see how much earlier he's lifting. I mean, Alex Bell's got 10 lap, maybe more 7 lap older tires. But Welker, it's almost putting Bell into a wall just about. That was a close one. You see how much earlier he's lifting than the 15, though, even though he has much fresher tires. It's very obvious Welker's trying to save, but clutching compared to just coasting is a big difference.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised he hasn't, as you mentioned, hasn't tried to clutch and coast. I guess maybe feels like he doesn't need to. I don't know. I guess
Probably
he's
just doesn't have one, if I had to guess. Might not have one.
I'm pretty sure he does. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
I don't know why you wouldn't do it then.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I guess you're right, because it doesn't make sense to not. Or you could save more gas and not really give up time by doing that. So I don't know. That's what I realize a lot of the times is usually the answer. Just you don't know. We can't.
You don't know what they're doing.
We have no clue what they're doing. We have no clue what they're thinking. So we just kind of have to see what happens and see if maybe they pick the right call. But we still got just over 40 laps to go and very much a fuel-saving race.
We'll see if this lasts, because we've seen drivers already bouncing off the wall. David Mott Jr. is still taking bites out of that Whopper. As the right side of that thing is almost completely off at this point. Still in the 10th position. Second to last driver running. Ray Massey, as I said, back in the race, 12 laps down, just trying to get it to the finish after his unfortunate VR failure.
Yeah, and Chad Klinger, David Mott, both this fourth position there. You can see Klinger yielding to Mott. So Mott up into 9th, Klinger back into 10th. And didn't get to take a look at this paint scheme for the number 09. What I was going to say earlier is that this is a tribute to... This is actually, sorry, a throwback to... This is barely a throwback, actually, because this is so recent. It's to Jamie McMurray's 2016 number 1 car, Sherman Williams Emerald.
Huh. Another obscure one. I love it. I could not have told you that initially. But
It's unfortunate because it is obscure, because it's a beautiful paint scheme.
that is nice.
It's always unfortunate, right? They always run the ugly paint schemes for long amounts of time, and they'll have these like one-offs that look amazing, but they'll only run them for like a few races or one race a year.
That's always the case. That's I mean, I could say it's too close to be a throwback. I think we're seeing throwbacks way more recent, so you can't really complain about the one, especially when it's as nice as it is. That's very sporty.
Going back, Welker ahead of Bell. Bell, again, we expect to see him come down at pit lane, so how long he's going to stay in 4th or even the top 5 is yet to be determined. He's actually sticking with Welker, and it's, whoa, I was going to say, seems like he may be going a little bit faster, because I think he's pushing, and he knows he needs to push, because it's the only way he's going to make a two-stop strategy work.
Excuse me. This is most likely kind of a 2-guy race, maybe 3. But the third wouldn't be Carwell, it would be Taliganoff. There's no way Carwell can make it. He's not saving whatsoever. Maybe he knows that. So Ray Massey's on pit lane. Maybe he'll call it a day. But there's no way Carwell's going to make it. You can kind of write him off. I don't think this is going to work. Unless he catches Taliganoff. If Taliganoff's in contention when he pits, then Carwell would be too. But really the 2 guys you got to look at are Mitch Welker and Jeff Wright. Wright with a lap more. 3 or 4 seconds behind, but again, that extra lap makes all of a difference, and clutching makes a bit of a difference too, which Mitch Welker isn't doing.
Let's see if Wright is still clutching and coasting.
I believe so. Last I checked.
There he is.
He's really. It shows how much they have to save. I mean, he's been doing this almost since 5 laps after pit exit, so that just shows how many laps really need to be saved. It's got to be around 5, because we saw how short Brian Chambliss was, even with him saving. So it's a lot to save.
Yep, a lift and coast for the 76, clutch and coast for the number 48. Sorry, did I say the number twice? Sorry.
Yes.
A lift and coast for the 76, a clutch and coast for the number 48 is what I meant to say. It's been a long day, man. 3 hours in VR, it's very tiring.
All these years didn't crash.
Man, that race was way too long. We had 15 cautions.
That's probably better than most.
You know, actually, I think ours is one of the worst ones. I was looking at the other splits in our time slot, and everyone else had like 12, 10. The top split did really good. They had only 4, which I guess you kind of expect. But yeah, no, ours is kind of bad. I heard 1 week of the one race in the Indy Fix, they went 4 hours. I think a few of them actually went 4 hours.
Well, that's not good. I don't run them as much. I won one and kind of dipped, so that's
yeah. I
good
think next year I'm gonna run like a private hosted one, like probably majors or something like that.
Maybe.
Where
I've thought about running one of those. I just never feel like
because the
never really
iRacing
have
ones
4
are
hours.
just the iRacing runs are kind of crapshoot because you just have to hope that you got people that know what they're doing, and a lot of times you don't have people that know what they're doing.
You get less and less people knowing what they're doing every year, so it kind of just
Yeah.
gets more and more of a crapshoot.
Because last year I remember it not being too bad, but this year, because I remember last year I didn't get to run the fix, I only ran the open. This year I ran fix and open. Fix I got crashed last week. I crashed out lap 8 after we had a caution every single lap. We went green, so we didn't even get a green flag lap, and we lost. There were like 10 cars wrecked out in the first 10 laps, so that was not a good race.
No, that's the risky run. You could end up wasting 4 hours of your time if you're not careful.
Yeah. I'm just glad I made it to the end of this one. Finished 3rd. Didn't get to win it, but came close. And looking off the back.
We've come from a race of endurance to a race of attrition.
Yeah.
And a race of fuel mileage as well.
Arguably, the Indy 500 is also a race of attrition, too.
And sometimes it can be a race of fuel mileage. We saw it with Rossi.
Yeah, and with Taliganoff, expect him to come down. Actually, when do we expect to see this 3 down a pit lane? I would bet he would probably be down in the next 5 laps or so. I would say that'd be ideal for him.
I'd say he might come. We see he pit around lap 63, so that was about 43 laps. So we should be seeing him in the next 10 laps, no doubt about it, to run to the end. Same thing for Alex Bell as well.
And here's the man chasing him down, Ryan Carwell. His progress has stopped. He chased him down from about 15 seconds back to about 3 seconds back. He's actually still making inroads on that, so I'll stand corrected on that. He made up 0.4 of a second last time by.
Still looking at that gap for Mitch Welker and Jeff Wright, but Wright's really not gaining. It is 3 seconds now. I believe it was 4. It's now 3 seconds, but they're pretty even still. Really not much being made up by that Mike Skinner throwback. And, don't know if he's going to be able to make stuff up unless Mitch Welker just has to go into extreme saving mode, and maybe Jeff Wright at some point will start opening it up. Jeremy Miller's in, who's already a lap down with all that damage, but he's one of the first to come in on the 2-stop.
Miller having a fairly forgettable day. It is a top 10 though, so I guess he'll be somewhat happy with that, but has not been really anywhere near the action since the second restart. So, sorry, the first restart that we had. We only had 1 single caution. In fact, let's take a look, a little bit of a race rundown at the moment. But find where that is. I always forget where some of these buttons are. Here we go. Race analysis. Nope, that's not the right one.
Really got to finish better than Chambliss if I had to react. Oh, here comes Taliganoff.
Taliganoff down to pit lane. And we'll see what happens there. We can see there only 1 caution, 4 leaders, 5 lead changes this race as Taliganoff comes in for what should be his final stop of the evening.
And Alex Bell came in the lap prior, so maybe that was what the 3 was reacting to.
And here he is coming out of pit lane. And rejoining the surface. So he is good to go till the end. We know that for a fact. And he's in 7th. So even if this doesn't work out, it's not too terrible of a run.
Chad Klinger came down. Don't know if he was calling it a day or actually pitting. Obviously, Miller was another one who pit. And now we pretty much wait for these guys to run out, the guys that will cycle to the front. We either wait them to get to the checkered flag or run out of fuel, because there's no in between at this point. You're committed to that strategy. Unless you're Ryan Carwile, you're kind of committed to running out at this point. I don't think he's committed to anything else. I don't think the fuel is going to come close to lasting, so we'll see what type of lead he can build up. He's at 14 seconds over Mitch Welker, but he needs a lot more to make it matter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he should have definitely, I mean, again, I'm not sure if you planned on it or not, but I think he probably should have come in earlier to move the 2-stop, because he's kind of in the middle of both strategies, which is not ideal, right? You either commit to the 1-stop or you commit to the 2-stop. So he got kind of caught out by that, I think. I think he felt like he might have been able to make it on 1-stop, but unfortunately couldn't. So he just shifted gears But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be much of a threat for Taliganoff, and I think he's going to have to start worrying about Bell, because Bell is going to be potentially catching him pretty quickly. And here comes 71 coming down.
Yeah, that's the worst mistake you can make, not committing to a strategy. You get caught out, get put in the middle somewhere, you just ruin your race. And it's kind of what Carwell's done. I don't see any scenario where he really can probably win. He's going to have to chase down Taliganoff and then hope everyone in front of him pits and doesn't make it on fuel. And I just don't know if that's going to happen. Just a really tough mistake. Might not have been aware of what the fuel was doing.
And with that, it's going to leave Mitch Welker, your leader, with just under 30 laps to go. Coming down to the end of this race, going to see who picked the right strategy, whether it was wise to save on fuel or wise to just push on fresh tires. Speaking of which, Taliganoff should be out on the track. There he is, back in 6th place. Should be actually pass, I think, 5th, which is currently held by Ryan Carwell, who's getting service to his car. There's Taliganoff, and there's Carwell. There's the pass.
There's really not many people committed to the one-stop. Obviously, Welker and Wright are committed to the one-stop, trying to make it from here. Lakatis, he was in 4th. I didn't think he was committed to it. He's coming in. Ryan Chambliss, who ran out last pit stop, he is clutching and coasting. He's the 3rd one trying to make it. And I think that's pretty much it. So we got 3 drivers trying to make this happen.
And Chambliss, you see, massive dent in the rear end of his car. Definitely has seen better days.
It was all from that stack up around lap 20 when pretty much all hell broke loose on a single lap.
Still sitting out there, as you mentioned, trying to make the strategy work. We'll see how it plays out in the end. Taliganoff sitting in 4th place. He's got an 18-second deficit to Welker, and this is all that he's got to catch up. Welker trying to save fuel and try to maintain that gap.
It's 2 seconds a lap with the tires the 3 has on right now. That's a lot of time. It can happen, but he has to keep that pace up, and I don't see that really happening.
He's got to keep the pace up, and he's got to work through all the slower cars as well.
That too.
Passing not the easiest here at Darlington, especially if the tires aren't playing in your favor. For the most part, it should help him quite a bit, but at some point they're going to start falling off.
One thing I'm surprised about is that Mitch Welker hasn't dropped off more. He has 3 seconds to, at least 2 seconds to give up to Jeff Wright. Speaking of Jeff Wright, we got to listen to next time by, hear when he's getting out of a throttle and coasting, because it is insane. He's way earlier than you ever would think of doing at Darlington.
Oh wow! Yeah.
That is that's concerning. That is a concerning amount to be lifting so early. And I've got to be concerned for Welker as he gets passed by Alex Bell. Bell getting his lap back. Welker's lifting way later, and he has a lap less of fuel than Jeff Wright. It's extremely concerning for those guys on that strategy. Well, and Taliganoff's still clicking laps off 2 seconds faster. I really think Taliganoff can make this work.
And actually, speaking of which, just got past Brian Chambliss, so you can cross Chambliss off the list of potential guys that could win this race. And it's pretty much down to Wright, Welker, and Taliganoff as they run. One of those 3 made the right call and played the strategy right. I have absolutely no idea who that's going to be with 20 laps to go.
I think it's a 3. That's going to be my guess right now, coming to 20 to go. I know it's still going to be about a 10-second gap, but I think the 3 can make this work. Jeff Wright ran a 33.1 last time by. Mitch Welker is pulling away about half a second a lap right now. I think if Wright, who has a lot more of fuel, once again to remind him, if he has a lot more fuel and is clutching this much, there's no way Mitch Welker can make this if Wright's numbers are correct.
Yeah, I was going to say, like you mentioned, with the pace that the 3 is keeping up, and he's on a very fervent pace, down to 9 seconds on the gap between himself and the leaders. If he catches up, it's game over. So, and I'm just not sure. It's looking less and less likely that Welker's going to be able to maintain that gap, let alone make it on fuel.
This is something. This is really something. You had your doubts, but to 3, he's still running 30.6s, consistently 2 seconds faster. You know, it's going to be only about 5 more laps, and he's going to be the race leader at this rate.
Yeah, I was going to say he's only 4 seconds back to Jeff Wright, and now 3.5 seconds. Gap falling significantly every corner he flies through. And yeah, I guess I had my doubts. That's why I'm not a crew chief.
Oh,
That's why I'm in the booth.
I don't think any of the guys at the front who pit so late thought it was going to be that close on fuel. They must not have been aware at this point. But Jeff Wright, he's saving an insane amount. He's going to have nothing to fight the 3 with at all. And Welker won't either.
Taking a look back at
not even going to be close at this
Brian
rate.
Carwell getting a run off of turn 2, gets a pass through by Brian Chambliss, who's again just hanging on, saving fuel. So Carwell up into 4th, so not too bad. Unfortunately, I don't think he may catch up to, well, I say that, but he's catching up to Jeff Wright, and who's also catching Jeff Wright is Taliganoff, and he's catching him fast.
It's insanely fast. I think if Carwell pit with the 3, it could be a battle between these two, but he was still, I think he was still undecided on the strategy.
Or is he?
Oh yeah, he's coming in. No, he was just letting the 3 by. He was letting the 3 by so he could get the Welker faster, I think.
All right, well, playing the teammate strategy, so props to the 48. Now it's just the 3 versus the 76.
And this is going to be probably not a contest, if I had to guess.
I was surprised. I was expecting the tires to start wearing out a lot more, but they're wearing out, but not as fast as I thought.
Product of that is the night falling. You're going to see a lot less tire wear with the night falling, a lot more speed and new tires when the night falls. So that's definitely playing into the 3 as well. This has happened in real life before. Remember Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin had that battle. Denny had a, I don't remember if he had one less stop, but an undercut of some sort. An overcut definitely worked. He only took the lead with 2 laps to go. That was a thrilling finish. Almost similar to this one, where we're just seeing one car on way fresher tires just completely decimate the competition at the end of this one. It's already within a second. He's going to be by him by turn 2 next lap.
Yeah, this has got to be a very helpless feeling. I mean, the 76 is looking at your mirror. You have absolutely nothing for the 3. At this point, he's got to hope for a caution to come out. With only 11,
yellow.
Oh yeah, there's only 11 guys out on the track, and they're all pretty spread apart at the moment. So I don't think that's going to be coming anytime soon. But there you see, wow, it's not going to be close. I barely have time to get to the next camera angle. Just rockets past the 76.
He almost wrecked trying to pass him, but that's pretty much the pass for the win, completed with over 14 laps to go. Not even close there, as Jeff Wright almost into the wall last time by. He's insanely slow right now. Mott Jr. gets by him. It's just really not working for those guys right now.
Yeah, now these guys just kind of limping on. There's Jeff Wright here, just talking about holding on for what he can. We still don't know exactly if these guys can make it to the end. It's still a bit of a question mark. That's the next concern.
I'd be shocked
now that both of them lost the lead.
Like I said, I'd be shocked if Welker could make it. Jeff Wright, he's still saving so much. He's lifting so early still. It'd be unimaginable that the 76 could make it.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, now that you made your bed, you got to lay in it. And unfortunately for Welker and Wright, they don't have much of a choice. It's kind of got to sit there, hope they can make it, because if not, they're going to have to pit, and they're going to drop way down the order. And I mean, at the moment right now, they're both set for pretty solid finishes, but if they have to pit, that's going to be worst case scenario.
Chambliss is in the same boat as well. He's running 5th. He has no pressure to lose too many more spots. He's probably in the best spot to make it because of how late he pit. He might still be able to get away with a decent finish. Alex Bell isn't really catching him too much, but that 9 still is coasting.
Yeah, just like he's the caught as he just zoomed past Jeremy Miller. That was for position, so up one more. And here comes Ryan Carwell rocketing past the 76 of Welker for second place. And I had my doubts about Carwell even catching Wright and Welker, and he did it easily. As I think for Welker and Wright, the tires falling off, and the gas tank getting very empty. So really, it's just not looking worse and worse for them every lap.
It's just a shame. If Carwell switched strategies earlier, he could have pit with the 3. It might have been in a better spot to challenge for the eventual win here. He's just not going to have enough time. He lost 4/10 that time by.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's got the pace either. But, I mean, I think shouldn't be too disappointed with second. But as you mentioned, I think if he committed earlier, would have been a much better scenario. But I think he'll take second place fairly happily.
I would say so. I think after being lost on strategy, to be able to get the top 2 and have the best shot at challenging for the win, I think it's definitely a great race after everything that could have happened.
Coming down to the end here, final 10 laps. Only one caution this entire evening. Very clean and green, as typical for ORL. just looking at where the 76 and the 40 will end up in the pecking order. And you could also throw in Brian Chambliss as well. He's still hanging on to 5th place, but for how much longer? Well, he's got Alex Bell bearing down on him at about 6 to 7 tenths a lap. Actually, sorry, 7 to 8 tenths a lap. So Bell's catching the 9 at a very quick pace. That should be. I think he may just about have enough time to get there to the 9.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. I'm trying to check the time. 32.7 to 31.9 last time by. I think that will be, if he stays at that rate, it will be enough time. Just barely, but it will be.
And that's just assuming that they still have enough fuel to make it to the end. Out of those 3, Chambliss has the best fuel scenario,
Yes.
as he came in a lap before. Sorry, he came in a lap after Jeff Wright, and Wright came in a lap after Welker. Welker was the earliest to come in. That's why we think he's the worst as far as fuel calculation. We think he's in the worst state, and especially because we don't feel like he's been saving enough. And we'll find out in 7 laps if he does have enough in the tank.
It'd be amazing if he made it. It would be a heck of a battle to make it right now.
Speaking of a battle, don't think much can happen of it. Just something to point out. The Carwell is closing in on the 3. I think it might be a little bit too late. But it was sitting about 3.5 seconds, now about 2.5 seconds. He probably needed another 20 laps. But unfortunately has 6 left on the clock, and there you can see the gap between himself and Taliganoff. And for Andrew, has not led too many laps today. Led 35. He's had a decent amount. I think most of the laps being led by this man here, Jeff Wright, with 53 laps led. And some more by the 76 of Welker.
I think it might have been different. It might not have been too much different, but could have been a little bit of a different race if Wright hadn't had that issue off pit road. The lead he had was pretty huge.
Yeah, I think it definitely would have been a much better scenario. Unfortunately, I think he definitely also would have been ahead of Welker had that not happened. He's actually dropped. He's dropped 7.5 seconds behind Mitch. And
sorry, the 30 is just pounding the wall. I think he's just messing around, so don't mind the bright purple 30 machine. But yeah, that's how much he's having to save. Supra's got to have some crazy fuel mileage if that 76 can somehow make it and the 48 cannot.
Little did you know, they put the Prius engine in the Supras.
That would explain a lot.
Yeah, we'll find out again. Still don't know if he can make it to the end. But if Wright's saving so much and Welker hasn't been, you gotta wonder what the state of that. Yeah, it definitely doesn't add up unless Wright's over saving. But I have no clue at this point. Gap for the lead, 2 seconds and dropping, but with 3 laps to go, again, we don't expect much to happen unless Taliganoff gets himself into some trouble here.
Yeah,
I've seen crazier things.
I think he's been driving a little bit softer. That's all he has to do. Just keep it out of the wall, and he's pretty much home free. Coming to 2 to go next time by. Just be smooth through the center. Don't throttle up earlier than you have to. Keep it nice and low off the corners. He should be good. That's what he's doing. Carwell driving, giving it all he can. Just doesn't have the time.
Gap now 1.7 seconds. Taliganoff continuing his lead. 2 laps to go till he sees the checkered flag. Take one last look at Welker and Wright. They're staying out till the end, so they haven't seen these guys come in yet. Definitely not the worst call, but clearly, at the moment, not looking like it's going to be the best either, as this man, with the 2-stop strategy under green, comes to collect the white flag, blazing through the field. He's got one more circuit to make till he sees the checkers.
It's doing pretty simple now. Jeff Wright, notably not coasting now, so maybe he should be good to the end. He feels he's good to the end, but like you're saying, this 3-car, he knew he was right on top of the strategy he needed to do, and he pulled it off perfectly. No one else did it better than him. And how fitting that 3 is going to go to victory lane at Darlington.
Yeah, definitely very fitting for a throwback night. The number 3, Mitch Welker, going to come home and win here at Darlington with an excellent call on tire strategy. He's going to come home and take the W. Ryan Carwell chasing him down to 1.2 seconds was not enough in that 71 machine. Welker going to limp across the line with fumes in the tank. He will come home, round out your top 3 with Wright. Just coming out of turn 4, and Chambliss bearing down on him. Unfortunately for Chambliss, probably another lap to try to get to the slowing 48. He's going to settle for 4th, with Chambliss back in 5th. And Alex Bell comes across the line, your last driver on the lead lap in 6th in the 15 car.
Yeah, that's a Prius engine in that 76. I'm gonna take that into account. And maybe he was clutching and we didn't hear it, but I don't know. That's insane that the 76 made it. Still under power on pit road, by the way, coming to his stop.
Yeah, there's 48
That
too,
is
with some
something.
left in the tank to give a little bit of a nudge. And some revs to him as well, so he also had a bit in the tank as well.
That's they were saving for burnouts and they didn't get the opportunity to do them, I suppose. But the man who does get to do them is this 3 machine. The Intimidator goes to victory lane once more.
Yeah, not before doing a Polish victory lap. But Taliganoff, great run for him, just going out there, winning on just pure pace. And we both had our doubts that that was the right call. We both counted him out, and he proved, both of us and pretty much the rest of the field, proved the rest of the field wrong. A solid victory for the number 3 as he goes on his victory up. As he does that, let's go through our finishing lineup. As we mentioned, Taliganoff coming home with the win. Carwell just behind him in 2nd. And you gotta imagine, with such a close gap, what could have been had Carwell optimized his strategy a little bit more. He's probably gonna be kicking himself more so because he got so close, but just so far. Welker, Wright, and Chambliss with their one-stop strategy, they still got top 5s out of this, so they'll be somewhat happy with that, with Bell, Lakatos, Miller, 6th, 7th, and 8th, Chad Klinger in 9th, David Mott in 10th, and pretty much everyone else on the next page had retired out of this race. Ray Massey, we saw him, he called it early. Actually, I think he ended up finishing the race.
He did finish the race. He came back after his VR failed.
Props to him for sticking it out, being 13 laps down. He was 10 laps from the nearest car. He still stuck it out. Props to him for doing so. But 12th on back, everyone retired. German, Tebben, West, Passon, and White all called in a night early on. It's especially unfortunate because Passon and White both seem to have very competitive cars, but couldn't really do anything.
In the 86 and 100, German and West, they both had started in the back. Really, I don't think they even attempted to qualify, and that's kind of that's what can happen doing that at a track like Darlington. It rarely works out.
So you're looking at the 3 burning it out at the start-finish line, celebrating a very well-earned victory. And while he continues to celebrate, we'll take a chance to talk to the 76 of Mitch Welker. Mitch, got it in the booth. Congrats on your 3rd place finish, but I'm sure you were probably hoping for a lot better in that scenario.
Yeah, obviously just rolled the dice. Didn't quite get the hit on that one. Just too many laps there to let the guys cut it in half at the end, and it was too slow to save all the fuel. So that was about it. Just tried something, didn't really work out, but still happy with the 3rd.
Well, I guess hindsight is 20/20, especially when it comes to fuel mileage racing. Do you think, looking back, would you have gone with the 2-tire call, or do you think this was still a better option for you?
2-tire call? Who did that?
Sorry, not 2 tires, 2 stops, 2-stop call.
Oh, absolutely. That was obviously the faster way to go. So, yeah, I totally would have done the split in half go 2, going back and doing it again.
Well, Mitch, you're still looking for your first one on oval this season. Actually, did you get a...
I did not.
You did not yet. Okay, you're still looking for it. Still have a very fast car in the 76. Wasn't this week. Hopefully be in any of the weeks coming up.
Yeah, hoping so.
And with that, we'll move on to our second place finisher, Ryan Carwell. And Ryan, you kind of got caught. We saw you, I think, I gotta ask, were you planning on going on one stop?
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't calculate the fuel just right, but also I was trying to overcut a little bit once I knew, just following him wasn't going to work probably.
Yeah, so I assume that you basically made the audible and you came in for a second stop, realizing that you weren't going to make it?
Yeah, it's pretty much as soon as I pulled out of the pits I realized I wasn't going to make it on that tank.
Yeah, and unfortunately it seemed that way. Do you think, though, if you had optimized, if you planned on making it just 2 stops to the end of the race instead of kind of converting over, you think you would have had a chance of getting the 3? We saw you catching him at the end.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have undercut him, I think it would have worked out, but I don't think if I would have just followed him, I probably would have been behind him the whole rest of the race too. So.
Well, Ryan, it wasn't a win, but a very solid second place finish. Looking forward to see you back in Victory Lane and any of the races coming up, especially going to Chicagoland next week.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Andrew Taliganoff taking home the W, the first win of the season. I'm actually kind of surprised to say that, Chris. I felt as if you I felt as if you had won at some other track this season, but yeah, no, you haven't. Just 2 second-place finishes at Watkins Glen and at Michigan. I think that probably been what I was thinking of. But finally able to get the W. How does it feel?
Oh, man, I tell you what. Like Jeff said, right after the race came up to me and told me you finally get that monkey off your back, but this is definitely one of our best tracks. I am wore out. I am drenched. I need a shower. I don't know what to say. I had a lot of, not a lot of people, but a few saying, this is your week, this is your week, this is your track. Especially Jeff, and he's like, this is your week, this is your week, and I didn't want to come in here too overconfident, but I just wanted to come in here and just race my ass off, and that's what we did, and just, trying to short pit there on that first green flag stop, and when we ended up with a 13-second lead, and Carwile, he was cutting into our lead there, but it just wasn't enough, and I figure if I cut the run in half, I think we could pull it out, and we did. We're here. We're in victory lane. We did it. I want to thank Outsider Racing. You guys, I don't know where the hell Kyle is, but Kyle, if you hear me, man, we did it finally. I want to thank Connor, you, everybody here. Chambliss has been going through a lot, so but I want to dedicate this one to him. I don't think there's anybody else that I really want to dedicate this one to. He's going through a lot of stuff, and it's just really good to see him here tonight. And Chambliss, this is for you, man. And man, we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna go drink. We're gonna get lit. We're gonna party. It's about time, man. This is great.
Well, Andrew, I'll let you go get the party started. Definitely seem very happy to get into Victory Lane. Hopefully that's not the first time, and hopefully we'll see you back
buddy. In. We're going to party like it's 1999.
Thanks for talking to us, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And Taliganoff, clearly a very happy man to get into Victory Lane, and I would be absolutely elated. He had a fantastic drive today.
Yeah, it was a pretty awesome drive to watch him pull off a strategy that difficult to pull off. We've seen that happen at Darlington, almost not in that fashion. It was just almost completely obvious that it was going to happen and work out after about 5 laps. And it was a very thrilling way to do it. If the 71 pit earlier, who knows what kind of battle could have been between those two. His first win in 40 races since his 1 win in Auto Club previously. The big win for the 3. He's been doing great in the points so far this season as well. I think coming in tonight, he was down to the 6th position. He's going to gain a decent amount on Jeff Wright after that, and obviously should put him back into the top 4. Looking like a potential threat maybe for the championship on that 48, but we know how strong that 48 is all the time. Just one mistake today. If he doesn't make a mistake the rest of the season, because they are rare for him, he should be good, but just never know.
Yeah, it's crazy to see because we've been seeing quite a few championship contenders appear and go, but it definitely looks like between Wright, Turner, Taliganoff, and even Ryan Carwell, we can throw him in, and even Mitch Welker too, who's had some pretty good runs as of late. I'd say any one of those 5 have a really solid shot of taking home the championship. Still got quite a few weeks of racing left to go, though. Like I mentioned, we're going to be at Chicagoland next week, and if I'm looking at the schedule correctly, that should be the final round of the regular season, and then we have a break off, and then we start at the Indianapolis Road Course on June 11th. That'll be starting off our 5-round chase for this group of drivers, and definitely looking forward because really I would say Jeff Wright probably the favorite to win, but it's not a clear favorite. There's definitely some solid contenders in there, but for now we're going to be calling it a race here from Darlington. My name is Finney Kuna here with Connor Horn, and thank you for watching.